Because different generations think of leadership differently. So we will begin with a short period of introductions. I would ask every panelist to introduce themselves, and we're going to give them 3 minutes to tell us what they do, because we want to sort of grasp what their background is. And then after that, we're going to go and discuss what shapes them as leaders. And of course, I'm assuming that next year, people who are here in the audience will be here at the front table. But don't rush. Sometimes it takes 10 years to become a leader. It's not overnight. Okay, so I'll just let you start. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Evan Peters. I'm from MacArthur High School, and I'm a senior. I currently am the class president, and I am a Boy Scout. I actually recently just became an Eagle Scout, so that was a really great experience for me. And also, I just wanted to actually start by thanking all the people involved with this summit, and especially Dr. Rogers. Thank you for allowing me to speak here. I think this is a really great opportunity, and I'm excited to share all of my ideas. I'm also a member of the track team, where I'm a team leader of the distance team. And I'm vice president of the National Honor Society and president of the Math Honor Society. Through these organizations, I run a lot of fundraising, and I conduct a lot of school food drives and everything involved with community outreach and services like that. Additionally, I have interned over the summers. I've interned for a state senator recently, 2 summers ago, and I also am a cashier at Stop and Shop, so that's fun. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Reyes. I'm from Emory Memorial High School. I'm currently class president. As a senior, I'm also president of the Key Club, and I hold some other officer positions. Mainly what I do in my school, I feel like I am like a student representative. I'm a representative for students who usually aren't spoken. They're most spoken to, and instead of asked for comment. I try and attend almost every board meeting that our school district holds. I think that's important because so many things happen and students aren't even aware of it. A lot of students have issues with the code of conduct or like the suspension policy. Where you start with that is you start like principals, superintendents, assistant superintendents, the Board of Education. That's what they're there for. They're there to listen to their constituents. And a lot of students don't understand that we're also, members of the town. We're members of the school, so we have a voice. And I also want to thank Dr. Rogers and Dr. Diana Pagliazzo for inviting me. This is a wonderful opportunity, and I never thought that I'd be on this side. I'd always be on that side. Yeah, and so a little bit about me. I currently work at Chick-fil-A. It just opened in Farmingdale, yeah. And then I also work, and then I also work at Five Below. So trying to maintain that working, and then also going to board meetings. I think it's very important for students to get out there. The town supervisor of Islip, she said they can't listen to someone who doesn't speak. And if people who constantly are there that don't want change, that's what they're going to listen to. If we want change as youth, millennials, Gen Z, whatever we are, we have to speak. Because if we don't, then no one's gonna hear us.
Hi, my name is Brianna Ferguson. I'm a sophomore at St. Joseph's College studying education. I'm currently on Student Government Association. I'm the treasurer of Student Government. A lot of people say when you go to St. Joe's, it's all about how you make it, so I kind of tried to embrace that and tried to get as involved as possible. So this year I became an orientation leader, which basically means that we oversee a class of freshmen and kind of guide them through their first year or first semester at St. Joseph. So that's been really rewarding and one of the best experiences I've had because I've gotten to work directly with new students who kind of need the guidance that I felt like I needed as a new student. I'm also SGA treasurer, like I said, so we basically oversee all of the clubs on campus. We have around 40 of them. And then this past semester, I've had the opportunity to kind of revamp one of our old clubs, so I'm kind of trying to bring back the Educators Club, which is associated with the CEC, the Council for Exceptional Children. So that's something I'm working on currently. Hi guys, my name is Colleen Flynn. I'm a senior human relations major at St. Joseph's College. I'm the current Student Government Association president. I'm also a freshman first year experience volunteer. So that's actually what got me involved in St. Joseph's College, was sitting in that classroom and being, seeing other people doing it and kind of being like, you know what, I could do that and I could do one better. I could, I want to be better. I want to make college make me better. And I really did that. And I see that now after my 4 years are, coming to an end. And I have St. Joseph's College to thank for that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I'm happy to be here.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know about all of you, but after listening to some of these comments, I'm extremely inspired about our future. This is really impressive. My name is John Schneiderwin. I am a Business Development Officer for Teachers Federal Credit Union. I also do a lot of extracurricular activities, which I started in high school and didn't stop. So it's a very important trait, and I encourage everybody in this room to get as involved as possible, as was already said by some of these panelists. I currently lead and co-chair and head the Long Island Millennial Leadership Coalition. It is a coalition that was started about 7 months ago, and it's a coalition of other millennial leaders throughout Long Island. So these are leaders who either took it upon themselves to create and found entrepreneurial networking groups. They're leading a group of very motivated and inspired young professionals and supporting them in their entrepreneurial spirits and what their initiatives are. I have members of Chambers of Commerce, young professional committees that chair those committees. They're sitting on the coalition. And then I have from private industry, actually, H2M. I have a member from the Young Professional Board sit on the coalition. So it's a very vibrant, very diverse coalition. Represents a great cross-section of what Long Island is. And it's something that has inspired me to really just try to break down the silos that a lot of these young professional groups were operating in, because they faced the same challenges, but they were working solely on trying to change them. So now those silos have been broken down and we're collaborating. It's a really beautiful thing. I also sit on my school board. I'm a board trustee for North Babylon School District, and that is amazing what you said. I mean, I'd be happy if there was more than 8 to 12 people that turned out to the meetings, because there is a lot going on in our school districts, a lot of wonderful things, and unfortunately people don't take the time to get out there to really become abreast of what's going on in the district. And it really is important, because that's really what that's like the first step you can do as students to get involved, is to show up to those school board meetings and tell us what you want, tell us what's going on in the schools, because as board members, we don't know, we really can't actually walk to schools. We're not technically allowed to do that. So we have a lot of rules and regulations that we have to abide by as board members, and I'm just one of 7, so we have to make decisions as a consensus. But the more you show up to those meetings, the more you get in front of the board members, the more you can voice your opinions and your concerns, and I really do encourage that. I also sit on the steering committee for Huntington Township Housing Coalition. Very near and dear to my heart is affordable housing. I was very fortunate to work for an employer that had a partnership with the Long Island Housing Partnership. They had an employer assistance program. Through working with that organization, I was able to buy my first house at 21, which allowed me to grow roots here on Long Island, the community that I lived in. And now I have 3 children, and I'm loving where I'm at. So there's so many opportunities out there, and I would just encourage everybody to do your own research. We have wonderful things such as Google. You could really find so much information out there. So if you're struggling, if you're coming a challenge, just Google it. Just there's so many things you can uncover by doing your own research. And it's a lost art that I got my bachelor's degree in accounting. I got my MBA from Hofstra University, and through going through the school curriculum and the different courses that I took, it really helped define and hone in my research skills. So I attribute a lot of my success to the research that I do. And that's me. Thank you.
Good morning, thanks for coming. My name is Michael Bonacasa. I am a Senior Vice President at H2M Architects and Engineers. H2M is a multidisciplinary architectural and engineering firm on Long Island. Our headquarters is in Melville. We currently employ about 500 people, and the average age of the firm is about 36. So we do have a lot of young people there. Recently I showed up for the Young Professionals event and thinking I was part of it, and was told, hey, thanks, it's great when you old guys support us. So, which was good. At H2M, I am in charge of the private sector market for the entire firm through all of our offices in the Northeast. In addition to that, I am the president of the Italian Americans in Government, which is a charitable organization here on Long Island. We raise money and we give it to local charities. That's what I do. Thank you.
Okay, so all of them very impressive. So, my name is Dr. Gail Lamberta. I am the Associate Dean for Community Development at St. Joseph's College. I also hold the position of Coordinator for Experiential Learning, as well as I am the Chair of Recreational Leisure Studies and a professor there. So, we kind of wear a lot of hats at the college. But as far as some leadership roles, I'm not going to get into all of them, but just to give you a little bit of an idea, I'm on the Board of Directors for Vision Long Island, as well as the Huntington Township Chamber of Commerce. I held the co-chair of the Education Committee position for 3 years there as well. The Suffolk County Workforce Development Board, I serve on the Youth Standing Committee, and the Long Island Regional Economic Development Council, the Committee on Workforce, Veterans, and Education. And last but not least, because this has that word, leadership, in it, I am Vice President for the Leadership Huntington Foundation. Our president, Jennifer Cassidy from People's United Bank, is right across here. So, but interestingly enough, I went through the program in 2016, best class ever. That's a tagline we all use. But, you know, just apropos to what we're talking about, leadership and leadership skills and that knowledge and understanding does not stop when you served on a board or when you're going through high school or college or postgraduate studies. It continues. So it's always a great idea to get some refresher information. There's always something to learn about leadership, just to kind of loop in the Leadership Foundation. Thank you.
Now, with these introductions, we're just gonna go and ask everyone what do they think are the critical leadership characteristics are. And after that, we will go into the next question. We ask them, who helped you to become a leader? Because it's rarely that we just jump into a leadership position. We have all of those people in the community, in our educational institutions and so on, who just quietly or not so quietly work with us to help us. But of course, we also have to see ourselves as leaders, and we have to get enough confidence in that. And that's what I find, at least being a college professor for 20 years, I find that some of our students just have wonderful characteristics, but they don't necessarily think they are leaders. Evan, we'll start with you because you're in high school. Tell us what you think our important leadership characteristics are.
So I think an important leadership characteristic is bringing that respect. A lot of people in my school especially, they would lead by example. So for academics, let's just say, people see you working hard, they see you studying hard, and they want to replicate that and be like that and be successful like that. And especially, I'm a member of the track team, and there are members who always come to practice on weekends, during breaks. And people want to replicate that success, so they naturally lead. So those people that come on the weekends, work harder, naturally become the leaders. So I think gaining that respect of your peers is extremely crucial and important. Also, I think organizing and understanding where your people that you are leading are. So interesting what you were saying about Google before. I feel like a lot of students, if it doesn't come up the first thing on their Google search, they're not going to do it. It just doesn't exist pretty much. So I think as I started actually Remind messaging, and we have a class group me, so I will send messages right to people's phones and saying this is an event, and our school also has really great morning announcements. And so that's how we get messages to students. So I think going where your people that you are leading are, and not just expecting your voice to just be heard just because you're saying something, actually going where they are so that they listen is really important. And using social media, especially our generation, is a really crucial factor. And I know a lot of people think it's only negative on social media, but it is a really great way to get your message across and get the word out. So I think that's great.
I think that like a good quality is taking initiative and taking advantage of those vantage points. So like board meetings have public sessions, town councils have public sessions. Your local congressman's number is on Google. Like everything's there. All you have to do is take that step. I know a lot for my school. The majority of our students are minorities, and sometimes it's a struggle because you do not see yourself in your leadership. You don't see yourself in the teachers, the staff, the board members. So what you do, you have to take that initiative, okay? So I don't see a lot of people. So let me be the next person that someone in kindergarten now will see me as someone they can look up to.
That's why I said to everyone in the room, I'm expecting them to be on this side next year. Yes, guys? And ladies? All right, very good.
Something that I think is important in leadership is just your passion for it and your inspiration. I don't think you can lead for something that you're not passionate about. As Colleen was saying, I think a lot of St. Joseph's, like I think everyone was saying, is kind of like the example and you wanting to be that person or like you wanting to be on this side. I remember going to like orientations or like open houses and watching people present. And I remember one in particular was actually the president of SGA last year. And she was in my major, so I watched her in one of like a workshop for my major. And I remember saying to my mom, like, I want to be like her. I want to be like the next SGA president, or I want to be the president of the honor society. So that kind of inspired me. So I kind of have a passion for it, which I think makes it easier, makes it more open, and makes it like more worthwhile for me, because I think you need to lead for something that you're passionate about and something that you want to achieve and something that will make you feel good too.
I think the most important thing is being able to adapt to the population that you're serving. So St. Joseph's College, for those of you who have never been on campus, is an extremely small school. It's probably smaller than maybe your high school. But it's important. I go to a lot of leadership talks and everything. It's important to understand that and to, not be too hard on people, encourage people, be very personal with people. I mean, when I'm on campus, I say hi to every single person, even if I don't know them. And I think that's very important to involving people at St. Joseph's College, where that might not be the case at other schools. So it's a lot of personal, very close meetings, and it's good. So it encourages people to step into these roles because you are, kind of taking their hand and saying, I want you to do this, I think you'd be good for this, or I want you to learn from me. So I think that's what's most important.
So for me, I have a very long list of what characteristics a leader is compromised of, and Evan mentioned respect, Jeffrey initiative, Brianna passion, and Colleen adaptability, and all of those definitely are high on the list. And after this morning's, I wasn't sure out of the 20 plus characteristics or so that I had written down what I would talk about. And after this morning's meeting, I think collaboration is huge. I think collaboration is the reason for why we are seeing a lot more success than we've had in the past. Between the supervisors, between the elected officials, between one another, collaboration is definitely key. So I would definitely stress that amongst all the other characteristics that were discussed, and as well as empathy. So with collaboration comes empathy. If you can't empathize with the individual that you're collaborating with, there'll probably be some problems with that collaboration. So I really do stress collaboration and empathy as far as characteristics for a leader. So thank you.
As you get down to the end, a lot of things are taken. But all very good qualities. All these qualities are definitely critical to being a leader. But having the knowledge of what you're leading in business is really why I'm here to discuss business, but having the knowledge of your business and leading, again, by example, and showing the people that you're leading that you're the person to look up to. You're the person that's an expert in that field. Along with that, and this is respect, is to be able to communicate with people. Communication is something that I find in some of the younger people is lacking. They don't communicate with the clients, they don't communicate with their colleagues. Technology is fantastic, But too many times an email goes out and it's gone. And it's never followed up on, it's never looked at. So, and it's one of those things where you can't wait for it to come back. It's not a tennis game. You have to be very aggressive with communicating with people, having them understand what your expectations are for them, you know, as a leader, and when they need help and the mentoring, you have to be there to do that.
Mike kind of said at the end, you sort of like go through the list. So I'm last, so you can imagine. All of these aspects and qualities are critical and they're very important. One of the things that I do want to add is active listening skills. We need to be able to listen to what people are saying before we respond and hopefully not react. You know, one of the keys is active listening, as well as every single thing that everyone else has said, and also to be able to think critically. So I guess I'm going to throw it back to Natalia.
Thank you very much. And so now we're going to jam hard on business. Don't worry, we're going to have, even though we have a short session because breakfast always overruns in terms of time, we're going to open it up to the audience and we're going to have an active conversation. In about, I would say, give me another 10 minutes and then we will all be working with each other. So, Michael, I just want to press you for this wonderful conversation we had before and ask you, how do you select or how do you groom and select leaders within your company? I know your company is a very fast-growing company. It's one of the leaders in the field in the tri-state and Northeast. So you have plenty of very talented young people there. So you, as one of the top partners, right, how do you go about it and what do you look for?
H2M's maybe not unique, but it's unique. We are a larger firm, so we do have some resources that maybe smaller firms don't have. We have a leadership and development manager that is there that helps us develop leaders that the leaders in the firm now are pinpointing, looking and identifying the future leaders of the company. We have a leadership and development program that's a classroom style learning. It's 32 hours that we give to the people that are selected to be the next leaders in the company. We also have an emerging leaders forum where, again, those are for the younger people that we start to identify as the future leaders of the company. So we're very active. Our HR department is very active in finding those leaders because that really is the future. H2M is an 85-year-old company. And in order for it to be around for 85 years, there has to be a lot of leadership transition. So the current CEO is the 5th CEO in 85 years. And his story is he started as an intern 35 years ago. And now he's, an intern in college, is now the CEO of our firm. So we are very much focused on leaders and how to develop them. We do have, our HR department has many programs that bring them up. And again, it's incumbent on the current leaders to pick and choose the future leaders.
What are you looking for when you're picking them? I mean, do they have to be able to follow up? I remember, what is the person who would qualify? What would they do?
We're looking for people that have all those qualities that we just spoke about.
Okay.
You're looking for those qualities in people. You're looking for people that take the initiative when, they're given a project to run. And we have a lot of, opportunities for people. We give them projects. We'll start people with smaller projects to have them grow really as that project manager, as the job captain, and they come up to be, client managers at some point. But again, you look for all those skills that we talked about, and the people that not everybody has them. They can be learned. Leaders, there are people who are born leaders, and then there's people, but you can certainly learn these things. So that's how we really identify them. And it's the current leaders that do it.
Okay. So now I'm going to go to Gail and ask her, what does I do in educational institutions such as college? St. Joseph's College is a leader in the developing leaders and also leadership program. What do you guys do? Let's say I just enrolled into college and I want to be a leader.
Well, we have a lot of opportunities for students, but if you're going to throw that out to my two students, I'm going to let them handle some of the student events. But academically, we are rooted in the liberal arts, and the liberal arts have come back. So part of our liberal arts program, we've revised the liberal arts to align it more with the 21st century workforce skill sets, which part of 21st century workforce is leadership. It's very critical. So the core curriculum that we have, we focus on critical thinking skills, problem solving skills. We also focus on teamwork. We have learning communities, courses that apply to learning communities, which require a lot of group work. We also focus on our mission, which we were founded by the Sisters of St. Joseph, and I'm not going to spew out our whole mission because we'll be here, it's pretty lengthy, but what I can tell you is our motto is esse non videre, to be, not to seem. And we take that very seriously in all of our coursework. So our professors certainly lead by example, and we're all involved in professional societies. We're all involved in, sometimes we're practitioners as well as instructors, and we can bring back a lot of opportunities for our students, in particular networking. So we try to get them out there, give them key roles in the community, as well as I'll let the students pick up on some of the student types of activities.
There you go. So guys, it's your turn now.
So going off what you were saying before, say, you know, you're freshly enrolled in St. Joseph's College, you walk in and you want to become a leader. It's very simple. People, I think college students tend to get a little scattered. I know I still do. And we make it much harder on ourselves than it is. But you simply could, I have an office, my advisor has an office. You could simply walk in and say, listen, I'm looking, you know, to get involved. I don't know, I have no clue what I want to do, but I want to get involved. And we have a list of 43 wonderful organizations that have like open enrollment basically, so you could just, you know, send them an email, go to their club meetings, and you become a member. As Dr. Lamberta was saying before, there's so many, we have honor societies that also, you know, you are always welcome to join as long as you have, you know, all the credentials. There's just a lot of opportunities. Everybody's willing to help you. It's just a matter of reaching out. And I think that's the hardest part for students. So for like the younger people, like just take full advantage of your college because they're there to help and they're there to help you advance and, you know, become amazing people and amazing business people like this. So.
Okay, Brianna.
Just to add on to what Colleen was saying, like she was saying, there are a ton of opportunities both in St. Joseph's and I'm sure in other institutions. One of the things that drew me to St. Joseph's was just the small scale of it. Like Colleen said, it's an extremely small college, which some people might not like, but for me, I like that. And I think it's very beneficial when you are trying to become a leader, just because there are so many different people that I know, whether they're in like administration or just like in the different offices that we do have. And like Colleen was saying, there's a ton of opportunities, and I think, like she also said, it's just taking the opportunity, but that's also, it comes with the follow through. So if you do want to become a leader, you do need to follow through with that. Like they're not just going to hand you, like they hand you the opportunity, but I think it's kind of what you do with it and how you kind of shape yourself within the opportunity.
Jeffrey.
Can I just add one thing for St. Joe's? We also run what we call an Evolve program, and Evolve is targeting future leaders. And we started, you can start in the second semester freshman year, and students have the opportunity to stick with that program throughout their tenure at the college, and sometimes they wrap it up a little bit earlier, but it focuses specifically on leadership skills, many of which we've just talked about, and I think either one or both of you are in that program. Okay.
Okay. Now we go to Jeffrey. Jeffrey's going to tell us how being in his school and in his community helped him to become leader.
Well, I'm lucky enough to have an amazing set of teachers. Like they are always there to help you foster leadership. They like to give this initiative was like, you may have like a hard time growing up, but like from here on out, like it's all in your control. Like you have to make sure that you are set to go because no one's going to take care of you. We have this wonderful program in my school. It's called SUPA. It's like a Syracuse course. So I take public policy, and in there we read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Amazing book. Mr. Grice over there, he's my public policy teacher. He continues to tell us to read it, and some of us, it doesn't like, it just goes right one ear out the other, but it really does teach us like make sure people are agreeing with you immediately. Don't, like if you're wrong, admit it instantaneously, so as not to cause resentment. It's things that you'll need for like a bank loan, for if you're speaking to, I don't know, the President of the United States. Like these are things that you can use in a very small scale or the larger scale. It just is what you make out of it.
Okay, Evan, take it away.
Yeah, I want to add on to the point about having amazing teachers. I think teachers they showcase opportunities for you, and then it's your job to really take the initiative and be proactive and take those opportunities. My teacher, Dr. Freeman, for example, showed me even the summit today. And I really think that the teachers give you opportunities, and it's all your job to take them and work with them. For example, also in Boy Scouts, which I'm a part of, I took that opportunity, and then it took 10 years, but now I'm an Eagle Scout. So I think another thing is when you do join these clubs or join these organizations, in the beginning you may not see tremendous success, but you learn your skills and you get that intellectual capital, like Henry Kissinger says. It's all about adding on to your skills and being patient. And I think with that patience comes a lot of rewards. It's really a virtue. You have to be patient with others, and even with your own growth.
Okay, John, I don't want to pass you by, so you'll be the last voice in the show.
Sure.
What helped you shape?
So I really couldn't agree more. I think my passion for being a leader started in high school. I actually was president of FBLA, of DECA. I became president of my class, and since then I just felt like anything that I feel like I could add value to, I'm going to try to become a part of. And it comes down to what I believe Brianna was saying before about passion. You know, if you can identify a passion in something, then that alone is pretty much the battle, and then it's just taking the initiative to become a part of it, and realizing what your value is that you can bring to that. And really, I mean, from learning how to, whether it's speaking in public or dealing with everyday issues or concerns, from when I was president of the class to when I'm on the school board, it's really about communication. Really talking to one another, empathizing with them, collaborating, like all the great characteristics that we spoke about. But you could start now. Like you don't have to wait. Like there was some individuals in the room earlier were saying like, oh, go to your parents and tell them what you want to go to No, you can go to the town hall meeting. You can go to the school board meeting. I was very happy somebody brought up at 17 you could run to be a school board member. I think it was Islip who had like one of the youngest school board members. Yeah. Oh, Josh is the legislator. Yeah. Some amazing people. Age really isn't a factor. It should not be something that deters you.
Yeah.
So
Monopoly, that's right.
Yeah, Monopoly was
Monopoly.
yeah. So I think it's definitely within your control, and that's what Jeffrey was just saying. You have the ability and the power to take the initiative to research what you're passionate about and what challenges you're facing, and see how others are overcoming it, and step into that own role and try to overcome it yourself. So, but definitely agree. It starts very young as high school. So.
All right, now is the appropriate time to acknowledge people who are here with us, and we want to thank Wine students for coming together with their mentor. We want to thank Amityville High School students who are absolutely fantastic, participate year after year. I love you guys. With Dr. Dana Pagliazzo and also with their teacher, Matt Rice. We want to thank Suffolk County Community College students today with their faculty member who came. It's their first time, but we hope to see them again, and also on this side of the table. And we want to thank General McDouglas, Hicksville, students coming from Hicksville, and Dr. Friedman, because they participate every year too, and we just have a great time with them. And all of you for being here. Now I'm going to throw the panelists the questions that I didn't warn them will be coming, because we're going to get real here. There's multiple barriers to becoming a leader. Me having 2 PhDs in social science, I'm well aware that sometimes it's not easy. If you're a woman, if you're a person of color, if you are, by any, whatever, not included into a certain society or in a certain group, and groups have a tendency to exclude. We know that from 19th century or 18th century, early sociology. So I want to know, how would you overcome certain barriers? And I have to also, I want people in the audience to think about what are the ways of overcoming barriers to your leadership. Because people will, not everybody is warm, welcoming, and friendly. Although many people are, and they are supportive and so on. But I just want to ask the panelists, I want to start with that. How do you overcome barriers? And then we will continue with that conversation with the audience. This will be our last question to panelists, and then I'm going to open it to you, and I wonder if you have any suggestions or any experiences. All right, so who wants to start? This is not me assigning.
Well, one thing that I wanted to talk about, it's not really race or gender, it's age. What you were saying before, you really, I think this could be applied to almost everything. You just don't view it as a factor, and if no one views it as a factor, then it isn't. With age, for example, you go into the school board and you're 17, but you speak with confidence. You speak like you're a 30-year-old. I think people will understand that, people will respect that, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. I can't really speak to the whole race thing. I'm white, so I don't know. But, yeah. But yeah, I was all about the age for me. Like, you just don't view it as a factor, and you go in just knowing what you know, knowing, being confident with all of your knowledge, and I think people really see that and respect it.
Being a child of being a first generation American, being a child of immigrants, it's hard. Like, it's hard standing in front of maybe like an all white board and speaking in front of them. It's not easy, but you also have to, if you are very like passionate and you take initiative, they will take you seriously. If you speak with the confidence and the maturity of a 30-year-old, they will listen. And it's like, well, like I can speak to the school board, right? If it's not every day they get a student going up there and addressing them. So when they see that, already you're already at a different level than maybe a community member that's always there screaming and yelling. Like you have everyone's attention. And I've seen throughout the years, I think I've been going to board meetings for like 4 years, so since 9th grade. And you've seen from like me being the only person there, from like multiple people going, and elections are in May, so, and people are very concerned. So you really just have to be like sincere and learn to let some things go. Like I always like talk to my confidants about like, oh, what should I do about this? And they're like, honestly, Jeffrey, sometimes you gotta let it go. Like there's bigger things at hand. Like maybe like a slight comment from like a superintendent, right? You gotta let it go, because at the end of the day, they're in that position of power and you have to work with them. So you have to figure it out.
What I kind of wanted to share is kind of two-part. It's kind of a barrier with maybe who you're working with or who you're working for. At St. Joseph's, I haven't had a problem with who I'm working with, but I think who I'm working for, or just like we oversee a whole bunch of clubs, and I think sometimes it's difficult. Like they were saying, communication is very important, and sometimes people just don't communicate, or they don't like kind of internalize what you're trying to communicate, which can be incredibly frustrating. So I think just as a leader, one of your barriers could be kind of just trying to give up. But I think it's important to be kind of persistent and maybe try to find out different ways that you can communicate to them. So for example, some people might not be able to just listen to what you have to say and internalize it. So you might need to work with them on an individual level and kind of have a meeting with them individually and go through it step by step where they're doing what they should be doing and you're kind of walking them through it. So I think that that's important, and that can also be a challenge for leaders. Also who you're working with. When I was in high school, I was the treasurer of the class, and sometimes it felt like I was doing more than what I should have been for my position. And I think that that's something important to recognize, just because even if you're all working for the same like end goal, I think that sometimes it's important to just kind of give up like who you are in the position and kind of just all work together to achieve that end goal, no matter what you have to do, if that's your end goal and that's what you're working towards. And that kind of goes with the passion. With if you're passionate about it, you're not going to mind having to do that extra work or kind of having to give up a little bit more than you thought you would have if it's something that you're really passionate about and really want to achieve.
So I have been in leadership positions since I was in middle school. So I have always kind of had leadership on the mind, on my, in my head. So I've thought about this for a very long time, and I just recently, I think this year, kind of came to a conclusion of what might be the best way to overcome any leadership barriers. And I really think that it's humility. I think being in a leadership position, people forget that we're all human and we all make mistakes and we all need to work with each other. Like Brianna said, we all have the same end goal. And like just kind of admitting at the end of the day, like, I am not perfect, none of us are perfect, this is a learning experience and this is gonna make us better people, and that's what's most important.
So I actually have a similar barrier that Evan mentioned, which was age. So at a very young age, I was very ambitious, and I've always wanted to excel in pretty much whatever I would tackle. So whether it was, I started as a part-time teller at a credit union, and I was like within 6 months ready to move on to full-time, and then I was able to, through the initiative that you show, through the confidence that you elude, you can achieve a lot of those goals to be in leadership position. So I've been very fortunate where I've been able to communicate my goals and show my ambition and my drive, and it's been recognized. And then there's been situations though where, even though I'm 32, so when you said 30 before, I was like, oh wow, that really, and you kept referencing it. You did just say it once, but even at 32, believe it or not, I'm the youngest member of the school board, and even trying to have conversations and move dialogue along, the age is always a kind of an aspect of, well, you've only been doing this for 2 years, you might not, so it's experience speaks volumes. And when I faced that for the first time in one of my employers, I didn't just look internally on how I could fix it, I went outside. So I got involved with the local Chamber of Commerce, I got involved with the YMCA and the Youth Bureau and the Boys and Girls Club in the community that I was working in, and then I showcased the skill sets that I have externally that I could then show that I could do internally, and it helped me grow in the organization. So just because you might be facing a barrier right in front of you, there might be other options, like if you walk to the left or walk to the right, or look up. So it's just again, it's research. It's really uncovering what you can do besides that particular barrier that's in front of you to showcase your drive, your passion, and what you could bring, and what you could bring value to, how you could bring value to that situation where hopefully those barriers could start to be reduced. But that's pretty much it.
So it's difficult, I've been a leader for a while, I've made it to the adult table, so it's a little bit, but all these things do spur memories of things that happened in the past. I think one of the things is, for younger people, I think patience is a good virtue to understand, and it tails back to things that they were saying. Let things go. There are people that are going to be in power, but if you're tenacious and you put in the time, again, to become that expert, to know what you're passionate about, people will start to respect that, and then you'll move up. You'll move up to those roles of leadership. So.
Ditto. Everything is appropriate here. Really, for those of you who are looking to break down the barriers, and there are barriers, there are all kinds of barriers out there. First of all, what's the cause? What are you interested in? What's your passion? What's the cause that you want to focus on? And educate yourself. Become knowledgeable in whatever it is that you want to do. That knowledge will gain you respect. Right? That knowledge people will recognize that this person really means something here, and you're going to have to take a chance. Everything's a risk, right? But when you gain the knowledge and you really know, and you have that direction of what you would like to do, it's your choice. Then it's a calculative risk. So you already know that you've got something, a background. And it's just a lot of hard work. It's sort of like finding a new job. We call it the entry-level position, right? You're not going to be the director as soon as you graduate from school. You're going to go in at an entry level. You have to prove yourself a little bit. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but that's okay. You learn more, people learn a little bit about you, and every single thing that the other panelists said really come into play. And I think that's what's critical. So just find your passion. If you have a cause, focus, and you will become accepted as a member of that group.
Okay, very good. Now let's talk. Who wants to say something about overcoming barriers in leadership?
Actually, my name is Valine Gallagher. I'm the business operations manager for YES, which is Youth Enrichment Services. One of our programs, well, we run a lot of youth programs, all school age, and I'm very involved with one of our high school programs, which is Working Careers. And I notice when I go visit the sites and I visit our high school students and I try to empower them and talk to them as one of the leaders of our agency. And I notice, and I try to encourage them, and I see sometimes with some of the students that they're very shy, very, quiet, but I can see that that's a leader, that's a future leader. And when you try to encourage a kid or a student as yourselves, and you walk into college, now you're a senior, you walk into college and you have that strength and you have that passion and you know what you want, and you walk in as a freshman, I'm sure there's barriers. And how did you overcome those barriers? Coming in as a leader, you have self-confidence, and you walk into a new school as a new person, how did you overcome that barrier?
Yes. Okay, now guys, really quickly, because they're gonna start pushing us out. Normal when people start home.
Okay, so I'll make it short. So basically, when I was a freshman, my facilitator for my freshman class is actually sitting right behind you, Brian Gill. Sorry, I did embarrass you. And Brian I was like that shy person that really wanted to be a leader, but didn't want to be like that nerd. Like I had a hard time in high school, so I was like, maybe this is my opportunity to be cool. So, and Brian kind of taught me that it was okay to be a leader and that I could be cool because I was a leader. And that's something that I will always thank him for, because he preached that in the classroom. And that's really what got me over that barrier to be like, you know what, being a leader is cool. So yeah.
Okay, I just wanna, do we have any school children first? Okay, or college? Because I wanna go to them first. I wanna recognize Viveka today, because Viveka was a leader, She wasn't prepped for the question in advance. I know she asked the last question. She just came in for the first time to the program, and then she stood up from her seat and she said to me, "Can I ask a question?" And I said, "Of course you can." And she went in front of 1,200 people and asked a question. Very important questions that she had to ask. So Viveka, thank you for your leadership. I hope you come again.
Hi, my name is Jairo Mendez. I'm from the Wine Edge Memorial High School. I actually have some experience with leadership, I guess you could say. I was elected as the president of the National Honor Society for my high school. And I find myself sometimes, since we were talking about barriers, I sometimes find myself under pressure to be this leader, somebody that people can look up to. Is there any way that how could I use these barriers to make myself stronger? Or have you guys had any experiences like that?
Okay, again, very quickly, and if any one of you can think of questions, please think of questions. Right. Who wants to answer this one? All right.
So I just want to say that I think also with the barriers, and I think, hang on, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I think it's important to understand that you don't always have to do something to kind of further yourself in I feel like a lot of times leaders are always here and it's okay, I want to do this so that I could put on my resume, and I want to do this to further my career. But I think a part of becoming the best leader that you can be is to kind of sometimes forget that and just better yourself, which I think will benefit you more in the future. So I don't know if this answers your question, but like I said before, just passion. So for example, I was part of DECA, like John was in high school, and I'm not going for business at all, but it was something that I was really, really passionate about. I just loved it. I thought it was so much fun, and I wound up becoming the president. And that was something that might not further me in my career in business, but it's just something that I really enjoyed, and I gained a lot from that. I think more than I did anything else in high school. So I think that just finding something that you're passionate about and finding something that you can lead, even if it's not what you think you should be doing, I think there are a lot of different ways that you can become a leader and foster your leadership skills.
Okay. They just told us all the morning sessions get extra 15 minutes. Yeah, I know, Chris just told me. So we are here for another 15 minutes. It's awesome because everything started late. So, so you don't have to rush. We will have another 15 minutes of conversation. Evan was next, and then I'm gonna go to Joe.
I was gonna say a similar point about what you said with the understanding self-improvement. I think that's really important, and I was also gonna say being introspective. A lot of people in the moment they think, oh, this is so difficult, and then they learn from it a year later, a month later. I think in the moment you could really learn from everything and learn and improve as you're going along, because a lot of people when they get to their end point, that's when they kind of readjust. But I think you could readjust in the moment and understand, okay, I have to make this improvement today and this improvement tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And build every day, keep improving. I think that's a big thing.
So just to add on that, I think a part of addressing that is what you just did, which was voice it. So it's definitely a challenge that when you feel responsible for others, that you want to do the best you can do. So I definitely encourage you to continue, like what Evan was just saying. Self-reflection is huge. Being self-aware of your strengths, of your weaknesses, and it's okay to ask for help. I mean, you saw all the town supervisors this morning. They collaborate with one another. They don't know the answers to everything, so they reach out and they try to get answers and they work together. So it goes back to collaboration, but it's also self-awareness and also developing the rapport with people that have the same interests as you. And finding ways to collaborate with them, to share your thoughts, your feelings, and moving forward and being open with that type of discussion is going to do it. I mean, just voicing that concern here and that feeling, I can tell that you obviously care, so continue doing what you're doing, and it's great, and I wish you all the best with whatever you're leading in, because that was great.
Okay, excellent. I have some other people here who I bypassed, unfortunately. Who goes first? Willis is right in front of me, but I promise you that I will not go. And this gentleman too. I'm sorry. Oh, and we have one over there. All right, perfect.
My name is Melissa Archibald. I am a foreigner, Minneapolis way, so I identify with you. I am a leader. I am a SUNY council appointed by the governor. I represent one of the universities, and I didn't get this position just by a chance. I was not even looking for it. Actually, I was about business. I run a STEM program. I empower youth, all colors, especially minority that don't have the advantage of other groups. And doing so, I became a phenom in the industry. And I was asked if I could become part of this role that I am right now. So in order for you to overcome any barriers, you just gotta focus about what you're doing, be passionate about it, and the opportunity will open, and you will be able to do whatever it is that you normally would do.
Melissa, can you stand up so the students can see you as a role model, please?
Hi, I'm Debbie Kavanaugh. I'm a civic leader in Central Islip. One of the ways I overcame the barriers to get things accomplished in Central Islip is I got politically active. I got involved in the party of my choice. And by getting involved in the party of choice, you go to events where you actually start hobnobbing and socializing with elected officials, and you build a mutual respect. And when you want something done, and I don't want to just sit at 3 minutes on a time at a town board meeting, I sit there and I go and I have a sit-down meeting with the elected officials. And they begin to respect you, and they respect your values and everything else that you have to say, because they know that you are doing the best from your heart for your community. And it gets to a point where the elected officials respect you enough that, in my case, anytime new development comes into Central Islip, I get a phone call from the planning department saying, okay, this developer's coming in, come meet with them. And the politicians will start to respect you, and they'll get to know you. So my suggestion to you, if you're civically minded and you want to come over the barriers, is get involved in your local political group, whether it's the Young Republicans, the Young Democrats, whichever one's around.
Sure. Just very quickly, because we have 2 more people, and after that we'll wrap up.
So I couldn't agree more with that comment. One of the first things that I did to get civically involved was I joined my local civic association for where I lived. And literally within from getting involved in those extracurriculars that I said when I couldn't grow internally and I went externally, I was involved with the Chamber of Commerce in Glen Cove. They asked me to become treasurer, so then I was the treasurer for the Chamber of Commerce. When I got involved with my local civic, they were in need of a treasurer, so I was able to then become treasurer for the local civic. And then within a year, they asked me to be president. So there's ways, I mean, you just have to look and you have to, and becoming civically involved is absolutely integral to any type of change that you want to see. You need to get involved. And I encourage this, there's actually a lot of high school organizations out there. There's 2 of which that I'm going to refer you to right now, which is Next Gen Politics. I had the opportunity to sit on one of their discussions that they had. And it was a wonderful group. I think I'm in North Babylon, and one of the leaders of that organization was from North Babylon, so they invited a lot of the elected officials and some school board members to sit on a panel. And then there's also the PAGE program with Suffolk County, so you can potentially work with the county legislator, learn about the inner workings of how bills are passed and what's going on with our county. It's a huge experience that you can really get and garner a lot of success from. And then I'm happy you mentioned Vivica. So I was really inspired by you getting up. I just became a board member of an organization called REFIT, which is Reforming Education Financial Inequalities Today. And a lot of what you spoke about the challenges that your school's facing in Wyandanch is something that REFIT organization is trying to find a solution for. And a lot of that spurred from one of what I believe it was Supervisor Saladino that said the unpaid mandates. So unfortunately, it's not just a town level, it's not just a county level, it's a state level, where the state of New York was mandated to pay quite a bit of money through the state aid formula to the school districts, and they haven't done it. And they froze that in 2007. So it was because of the recession, they haven't really addressed it since. So there's a lot of issues that are happening on a greater scale that unfortunately have this impact. And I'm a huge proponent that the state needs to have something in line so that what happened in Wyandanch can't happen again. So I really appreciate you speaking up, and I'm trying to do what I can, but there's so many ways you can get involved. So.
Sorry. You'll stay in touch with Vivica, right? Yes. Okay, very good. Because Vivica will become a leader in changing what's going on.
Okay, to the students, one quick thing. Use your resources. You have resources at your high schools. Those of you in college have resources at the college. You have your faculty. You have your clubs. One of the best way is networking and get to know people. All right, but use your resources. I'm going to keep it simple as that.
Awesome. I want to go to this person, then we have one more student in the back, and then we have to come out of here or they'll just burst the doors.
Hello, my name is Matthew Ambrosio, and I decided to attend this seminar for 2 reasons. I'm an adjunct professor for Suffolk Community College, and I'm proud to be here and listen to you guys, and I know that there are some Suffolk Community students here as well. A way to overcome a barrier that I've learned is a good tactic is to expand your reach and grow your voice. And I'm not just an adjunct at Suffolk Community, I'm also an associate with a developer, Terwilliger and Bartone. I think you guys passed by our table. And we do TOD rentals, and we love to hear from millennials. So a great way to overcome a barrier, again, is to expand your reach. And the way I did that myself about 10 years ago was becoming a columnist. I've written for many different magazines and publications, locally and internationally. And it allowed me to expand my reach and reach more people. And I know as a professor and as a developer the value of our youth. You guys are the future. You hold the future in our hands. And I would love to see you, as has been mentioned before, at these town meetings, because right now the older generations have the football here. They're in charge, and they're the first people to come out are the people who oppose. So just an FYI, in January I've published an expert article on how to overcome those obstacles, how millennials can be a part of our future, and it will list 6 or 7 different ways that you can be involved, learn about the projects that developers are proposing, how to attend the meetings, and what to know before you go. So keep an eye out for the reporter with the HIA, the Hubbard Industrial Association's publication, and I'll give you some tips on how you can become more involved in the in the process.
Okay, send me a link and I'll forward it to them. 1 minute comment, and I'm going back to students. There's multiple hands there.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I'm very happy to see a lot of diversity here, right, in this room. So I want to tell you, right, no matter what it is that you want to do, you can do it. You guys are the future, right? When I first came to this country, I couldn't speak any English, right? I was told to go back. 5, 6 years old, go back where you came from, right? But you could never tell by my accent, right? I own 4 companies, I'm a pastor, I'm an appointee of the governor, right? If I can do it, you can do it. Like they said before, it's about the right connections, right? It's about you having the drive, right? I run STEM camps for children of color on a national level. I would have never been able to do that if I had listened to those voices go back to where you came from. Now, you have the ability, like someone had, an impact, positive impact. That's how you become a legend, by having an impact, not over longevity. You can have an impact today just by listening to what these people on the panel are saying in order to encourage you, to give you that drive for you to thrive, because you are the future.
I'll stay in touch with you about the STEM camp. All right, guys. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Marco Iorio. I'm from Amityville Memorial High School. And my question is about initiative. This is to anyone on the panel. So what is one specific initiative that you would want to see done in the realm that you operate under, and how do you intend to carry out that initiative?
That was an excellent question. All right, I get my exercise today. Here we go. Who wants to start?
Well, Margot, so I'm class president, and in that sort of statute, we're trying to get a senior class trip, right? And now, like I said, most kids in our school know that they're going to be told to do something and then they complain. That's the reaction that we get. You're told to do something, complain. There's no initiative. That's not the system that we hold currently. So just like attending those student advisory meetings, board meetings, those things, that is where initiative grows. If you sit there and just observe, you don't even have to say anything, just observe, and they'll notice, okay, so this person means business. Like, they're here because they want to hear it, not just because they're going to spit a complaint out and then just leave. You have to follow up, you have to stay on top of things.
Okay, Kevin, just quickly, guys, because we want to wrap it up.
So one specific initiative through the Key Club, we were actually planning on kind of reinventing the way our school lunches handle the waste. In the past, we've just thrown everything out. You just throw it in the garbage. But a lot of packaged items like the applesauce or some fruits could actually be repurposed and donated. And kind of what you were saying, going to the meetings and observing. I actually went to a Kiwanis Club meeting, and they talked about this. It wasn't really my idea. They were the ones to talk about this, and I realized that it was actually a really great thing, and it could really help our school and the whole community. So we're trying to bring it to our school, and we might even go to the board about it in the future. So that's one specific initiative.
Just very quickly, me and Brianna have been working on every year when we start the semester, we have a leadership training, and we like to outline what our goal or what our initiative is for the year. And we're working on student involvement right now. It's still a work in progress, but we're trying to get more activity on our campus. We're a commuter college, so it's very difficult. But yeah, so it's still a work in progress, and every day, we see improvements. We, take a step back, take 2 steps forward, kind of like that.
So like I was saying earlier, I'm a part of the Long Island Millennial Leadership Coalition, and although it's a relatively new coalition that was formed, we've had a heavy discussion on the initiatives that we're going to try to tackle that will help retain millennials and Gen Zers and the generations to follow here on Long Island. in an effort to try to make Long Island more sustainable in many ways, not just environmentally, but economically. And one of the initiatives that we're focusing on now is the initiative the issue that's been talked about out there this morning, which is affordability of housing, attainable housing. And it's something that is near and dear to my heart because, like I said before, I was fortunate enough to work for an organization that had a partnership, a Long Island Housing Partnership. Not everybody's as fortunate to be able to make that connection early on in their lives. So a lot of what we do for the coalition is education. We held an event that was predominantly about educating millennials on the opportunities that are currently out there in the current climate of Long Island and the housing market. But the next initiative that we're looking to focus on is revitalizing accessory apartment legislation. And there's a lot of information to go in there, but if whoever asks that initiative question, I'd love to talk to you more about what that impact could bring to not only the millennials, the next gen, but also to individuals who are looking to age in place, as well as support census data, which is integral to the amount of aid that we receive back. So thank you.
Okay, we gotta finish up here because we just received the wave, meaning we have to all leave this room and go to our next respective sessions. I would like to thank all of you, everyone who was in the audience, because it's important, and everyone who was on the panel for this collaboration. I wish for another 30 minutes where more people can speak, because all of us are a part of future change, and all of us are bringing leadership forward to make social and economic environment better. So I will stay in touch with some of you, and I hope to bring many of you next year here, and we'll have another fabulous conversation. Thank you very, very much, and go on and change the world, please. All right.